Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Tuesday, it's July 14th. This will be our chart lesson for today. While the volume and the volatility was off considerably today, there was still a very nice uptrend. It was a little slow getting started. It really started right at the 8:30 open and continued well into the 2 o'clock hour, and then we noticed we ended up having a channel working up here. There was a shorter term channel here that I wasn't sure if it was maybe a two-tiered channel early on, but it turns out that it's just a smaller pattern within this bigger pattern. And then we had a break, moved to a new high, and then we corrected the rest of the day. But this was all after 2 o'clock, so it didn't much make any difference. It was pretty much all up on the trading today. There was one short here early on. We'll talk about that in a minute, but pretty good day. Once we broke higher here, this was a range basically. Once we broke higher, I was looking for at least a measured move. You notice how we got right to that point and tried to sell off, and then we went higher from there. But that generally will give you a great target, and there were a couple of more entries. Weren't a lot of trades today. There just wasn't as much volume today. You can see there's um, somebody actually asked me if something was wrong today when they came in, and there just weren't many bars, but there just wasn't. The volume and the volatility is way off today. Um, we're back to 2100. In fact, we closed above 2100 today. So we're really back to scratch. We've been banging around on both sides of this 2100 for quite a while now, and doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. So, but let's talk about the trades and wrap it up for today. Not it's just going to be rather quick today because there's not a whole lot of trades to talk about, but plenty of trades to make money. Don't take that the wrong way. Just not as many trades as I mean. Recently, we've had this many trades in the first hour or two, and that we got all day today. But this is more of a realistic, normal market, really, for the ES. The volatility and the volume has just been really high previous to today. So, but anyway, notice what we got here. This is really flat. Um, and this happened right at the 7 o'clock hour. We had a first entry up, pull back, and there's no second entry setup here, but we had a second entry trigger, and it failed and turned down. Just go short right there, all in that same bar. If you didn't, you could enter right here, um, and hopefully you're going to get a measured move, but you might get more. And but we're looking for a minimum of a measured move, and you can see we actually went a tick or so further. So quick, easy move down, nice scalp, nothing more, and then it bounces. Um, it's kind of tempting to go long there, but I think you're better off to wait and see if you get a setup here, and you do, but then it doesn't trigger above that one. It takes another bar, so even this is a little bit aggressive. There's some strong support across there. Um, this is a failed break lower, and then a pullback to test that support. This line really should be right there. Test it, and then it goes higher. And where do you expect prices are going? Back to test the highs, and that's exactly where it goes. Exit up there, and then it turns down. And guess what? It looks like it's going to give you a nice setup here. And you really, if you want to be super aggressive, you could go short there. But notice how we traded up into this range. The odds tell us we're probably going to break out to the high side because we traded up into it. If we'd have traded down into it, the bias would be to break out to the downside. Nothing's 100%, but that's what you expect to happen. So I would have waited on a better entry here. If you did go short there, it worked. I'm willing to give it a green circle because I'm sure there's some more aggressive traders, and it was really tempting. I wanted to take that trade myself, but I didn't. Um, but when it turned back up here on this failed second entry short, um, you got to assume we're going higher and probably going to make at least a measured move, which is you see we made here, and we actually ended up going higher. But of course, it found resistance because that's what most people that understand price action know, that this is a likely target, and they all exit there, and it backs up for a while. But this was a nice entry, and if you entered here, you could have ridden this up all day, any runners. You could have ridden it all the way, or at least to the break here. Um, that's the good thing about that. Any runners were safe there. And then it pulls back. And generally, you're going to expect prices to pull back and test this. And if it doesn't, that's generally a sign that we could be going higher. And so when it went higher here on the second entry on a reversal bar, I like that entry. And when it pulled back here, you probably would have already been scalped out. So You might have had to add on, but if you, depending on where you kept your stop or how you scalped out, this is a place where I would add on if I was not, and if I wasn't already, if I didn't add on, if I wasn't already in, I would definitely enter right here, even though that's right into the highs because you're looking for a target up here. And so I like that for an add-on or even a new trade. It's not a great setup bar, but there's enough reason that really, this one really confirmed this trend line, and that's just a retest of it. And when it held again, knowing that your measured move is at least up here, I'm going to go for that trade. And then it breaks higher. You actually get a breakout pullback long here on the second entry, but look at that bar. Look how it's all stacked up. I really didn't like that. But then it breaks out above those, pulls back, and turns up, and that's your failed second entry. You could treat this double top like a breakout pullback long, almost treat it like a failed second entry short. Your failed second entry short was actually here, counting here, so you might have entered right there. There are some reasons to even consider entering there. If you had, you would have had to ride this out, but it would have worked. You know, I'm probably even going to give that one a green one because I know people are going to ask me about it. Wow, yeah. But the only reason I didn't like that one was because we already had our measured move, and I was a little afraid that it might turn back down. But we didn't have a break of the trend line, so you don't want to be going short, but you probably want to wait. And you really could have entered above that bar right there. But the reason I didn't like that one is because if it would have broke above these all in that same bar, I would have liked going long right there. But when it got hung up, look at all those matching highs. That's, you know, you're probably going to get a breakout pullback, and that's what you want to wait on, and you get that right here, and that's the main reason I like that one. And again, any runners were safe here. You could have ridden this all the way up till you got a break here, and then it pulls back, and it gives you a failed second entry short here. Notice this is a double bottom, so you can treat that like a new low. First entry, pull back, second entry, and it broke lower and then turned and went out. Just go long right there, and you might have gotten shaken out of that one. But if you put your stop where it's supposed to go and you leave it there, you're safe and you got a good scalp. If not, you know, you might have taken what you could get here because that got a little bit antsy. And it was really tempting to go long here, but with the break, you don't know that it won't go just a tick or two and then turn down. And this one, I think, would have worked. If you took that, I'm okay with it. But the reason I don't like it is because of all those matching highs, and we've already had a break. And so there's some strong resistance, and you can see that right across there. So you're better off to wait on a breakout pullback. And that looks a little like one, but I definitely wouldn't go long there. Not after that break in a new high. So you need a better, if we'd have turned up here and got a good setup, I would have liked it, but it just keeps going down. And then you get a first entry, pull back second entry. You get a failed second entry short there. I like that for a long. Um, Notice how this is the first time we got below the EMA and we went right back through it. Really, we got a little resistance, but then it just pushed right on through it. Tested it once, it pulls back, it tests it twice, and there's a trend line working up through there off those three bars, and everything closed inside it. So I like that for a trap right there. And it's tempting to enter back here, but with all that resistance right across there, if you weren't already in, I don't think you want to enter there. Even though it takes on off, that's what happens. It'll work this time, and the next time you'll take it and it won't work, and you'll think, well, why, you know. So that's why you follow the rules. The rules don't, you know, based on the rules, I don't think you want to enter there. If you entered here, you're okay because you're following the rules. But if you enter here, you need a breakout pullback, and you kind of get one there. I'm more apt to like this entry here because now you've tested the trend line once, or you set your trend line right there, and this kind of confirmed it. So that's another test of it and a breakout pullback long. But it's so close to those highs, it just doesn't give you much room, and you never know what might happen. But if you wanted to enter there, maybe I'm okay with that, but I think you're better to wait, and then you get a second entry long here. And this is not a very good setup bar. So wait on this one. When this one closed, when you got a break of that one, I would drop a limit order right there at the top. maybe one tick in. See if you could get filled. You wouldn't have got filled a tick in, but you would have right there at the top. And it takes on off again, and then it's just that gets you into the 2 o'clock hour. So, um, but it was really a pretty good trading day. Not a lot of trades, but pretty straightforward. Pretty obvious trend channel working up here. There was a shorter term one here. You had a break, a new high, and then a correction, and then back into but the bigger pattern here held. And there was somewhat of a trading range, two-tiered as well. Um, Notice that we did eventually come back and test this right here. If you drew this on through a healthy market, that's what will happen. You can see if you go to the high right there, it did come back and test it to the tick. And that's pretty standard. So even though it's not touching my line, it did come back and touch the very high of this move up where you would expect it to. So good trading day. Not a lot of trades. Some good trades though. Nothing really surprising. The only way you might have got surprised if you went long into that resistance and you see it worked here this time, but it didn't really work here. If you used a limit order, you probably would have scalped out there. But I think you're better off to skip that. I really do. And not much else we can say about today. It's a pretty boring day, really, after what we've had going on recently. So it's probably felt like playtime compared to some of the last few trading days where the volume and the volatility was extremely high. So but I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.